Now I'm going to create 4 different compositional thumbnails to work out how the actual pattern is going to work. And so I'm just on my old computer paper, printer paper, and I'm making 4. I know I want it to be this like vertical. These do not have to be to size. I'm just really working out the pattern here. I'm always doing these. I'll use the back and front of a bunch of different sheets of paper. So we're thinking about the big shapes and lines that are the building blocks of the composition. I'm not thinking about each little detail first. First, I'm thinking about the overall shape of the composition. So on this one, I'm going to try like a teardrop shape and this is where I'm going to fit my pattern into. So I'm looking at my reference sheet, and I'll just show you the one I did for practice. Looks like this, and then I started to write the colors here. So you can see within the teardrop, I have my plants, and then I'm working out where all the teardrops are going to go. And then I'm using lines and shapes here, and I've used lines here to create another pattern. So this is going to help me work out how my pattern is laid out. And also, while I'm using only my own drawings as reference, it's also going to help me further simplify my my elements of my pattern. So I'm going to just do the fern like this. And I know I want it to have that and maybe another small leaf here. So I know I want the fern to be at like the tip of this teardrop shape. And I might make the stalk a little longer. And then I'm gonna have the foxglove like kind of coming up like this. And I think I want to have 3 different stalks. So for the foxglove, I'm just doing triangles. I'm not putting any more detail than just these triangles. And I want to have one that maybe goes in here. So I'm making like a reference sheet that's sort of like a shorthand. And I think I'll have another one. You know, it can go over the shape that I've made. So this is just like a general teardrop shape that I'm working on. So these 3 are connected. And then the time, I think I'll just do like that. And then maybe one with the flower on it here. And there's kind of an empty space here, so I think I might do another bit of time. So then I'm thinking, like, this is kind of my anchor shape, I'm realizing, the fern, because it has the pointiness with the teardrop. So I'm thinking how I want the next one to go. And I kind of want them to fit together, but I don't want them to be in the exact same direction. And I'm gonna start from here, and I can have my fern. And you're really spending time drawing this out. You know, it's not perfect. And then my foxglove, but this is the work, right? This is the planning stage. The longer you take on this, the more fun your painting is going to be, because you just get to paint. You're not worried about what the composition is, what it looks like. We can see the difference when I'm trying to talk and do this is really different than when I'm doing it on my own. We can see I have a lot more detail here because I was able to spend a lot more time and I wasn't trying to talk. So what I've done here is just I'll outline these so you can see better. I started with the center shape, and then I just have these other shapes, teardrop shapes, fit in. And I drew it all out because I really wanted to see which pattern was gonna work the best. And you know, they're not all exactly the same. And then where there was extra space, I just drew in these little sprigs of thyme. I even put another foxglove here and here. And this could be something that's a repeated pattern for like a wallpaper is kind of what I was thinking for this. So that's how you get started with that. And you know, each one I do would probably be different, but there could be another one here. So I'm drawing the big shapes first, and then I'm filling them in, or you can do them at the same time. This is really your creative process, so it's up to you. I'm just kind of showing you how I break it down. Now, the next one I'm doing is all just curvy lines, and you can have some go off. And then I have, what did I do? Another one kind of going through here. And then have some connecting like that. So I'm just starting with the lines like that. And I know I was thinking with this, I can start with the ferns, you know, the stalk being, or what's that called? The stem being the center of this. And I'm going to kind of space out my ferns to where I want them to be, because I don't want them all to be like exactly in the same direction or the same place. And you know, I think I'll do like the little whatchamacallit, spiral going different directions. So you don't have to stick to the lines exactly, but they can be a guide and a way to break down some of these bigger shapes. I think it needs one up here. So think of one, you know, shape or element of your pattern that is going to be like the grounding, the base of your pattern. So for me, it's this fern is the thing I'm building off of. It's kind of like the central part of my pattern. And I'm getting those all down first, and I'll paint them all first too. And then I'm gonna add the next biggest thing, which are the foxgloves. And have those triangles here. And then have the other stalks kind of come out of it. And I'll have another one here. So, you know, when you paint, it's not going to be exactly the same. You're just, this is like an outline, really, if you're thinking of it of like writing a paper or something. So you're just getting started here. And you're getting a basic idea of what your pattern could look like. Okay, so that's how I started with this, and then I just kept filling in, like the daisies went in here. And I could just do this for the daisies. I don't have to draw each leaf because I know what they are and I have my reference sheet. So I'm filling in, you know, I'm starting with kind of the biggest stuff, and I'm repeating, it's a repeated pattern. So I'm spacing them out so it looks, you know, natural, but also intentional. So there's not like a block of daisies in the middle. There's some different ones around, and you can change the size of some stuff. And then I filled the rest in with time. And you can see this is the one I worked a lot longer on. And let me just, I'll show you how I had the lines here. I spent more time on this, drawing out a lot of different line options. So this was the original lines that I started with in this composition. So I was thinking about the lines, and then I was thinking about these shapes too, breaking up my composition. And then for this one, these feel more like wallpaper or, you know, clothing. I didn't want them to be too symmetrical. I wanted them to feel like a little bit wild. And then I wanted to try one that was maybe a little more geometric. So I have some circular shapes, and then I was gonna do like curved lines. So I was thinking about in here, these would be the two ferns in the center, kind of going like that. And spiral, and the spiral is going in towards the center, and then the other one's coming out. And then I started building off from here. I thought this would be cool to have the daisy in the corner and definitely put some leaves in here. And then a matching one on the other corner. So this is completely up to what you like, what you want to see in your pattern. And then I was building off these rows by adding the foxgloves here. And just keep going. And then these are all very curvy. So if you haven't tried yet, think about a more straight design, which might not work for this, but you could do straight lines like triangles. So I'm thinking about big shapes, and then I'm breaking them up into smaller shapes. And so each of these could maybe have a fern coming out or somewhere in the center. And I'm just keep turning my paper around too, because I want it to feel, for mine, a little more organic. I think I don't want them all pointing the same way, so I'm going to do one pointing this way. And then maybe I'll make some smaller here too. So you can play around with the proportion and the size of the elements of yours. I think I need one pointing this way because they're all pointing different ways. And then you can start, like I've been doing, just filling in the foxglove. And keep going with it. So these are 4 different compositional thumbnails, and then you'll choose, well, I started doing this. It was really, I knew it was between these 2, and then I chose to go with this one for my final. So this is the design I'm picking. And I also started to write out the colors I wanted to use. So I'm thinking about warm and cool temperature, warm and cool colors, and all the leaves and the stalks are going to be green, and then different shades of green, like light green, blue green. And so those will all be cool tones. And then I want to have some pops of warm color that will be the yellow orange of the foxglove and some yellow white of the daisy. So those will be my big pops of color. And I did this to practice, and I was trying making red in the fern, and I didn't like the way that looked. I preferred this. So I also didn't want to do the purple leaves on the thyme. So, you can definitely make 2 of these at the same time. One can be a practice, or you can just do one. It's up to you. I think the more I do things, obviously the better you get. It's all about practice, and it's all to have fun. And I think if I have one that's just like my practice one, I can experiment and know I'm going to make mistakes. I know that's not the finished piece, so I can just kind of go crazy and try different things that if it felt like it was my final painting, I would be afraid to mess it up. So I'm all for having, doing 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 or however many you want to get to the place you want. It's usually not the first one that's going to look right because you have to get used to the techniques and stuff. All right, next we will move on to painting.